Hey folks, Doc here. It's a lovely Sunday here at Area 51. We've just come out of what was the third heat wave of the season already. The summer has just started. It's what, the 6th, 7th of July right now? I don't even know. I haven't looked at the damn calendar. It's all been a blur. But we've just wrapped up our third heat wave, which lasted a week and a half, and we're about to get into the fourth one. This is nuts, this global warming, cooling thing. Anyways, yeah, it's pretty bad. It's basically become a drought. A lot of the townships near me have issued water bans, which means you're not allowed to water your grass or waste any water in such a fashion. By the same token, all the fire ratings are high, which means that a lot of municipalities have imposed fire bans as well. Can't have a campfire, can't do this, can't do that, because the whole place go up like a matchstick. Half my backyard is absolutely scorched, and the only reason the other half isn't scorched is because of tree cover, I think. Anyhow, since all the heat has passed, I finally managed to get a day to myself to get some more work done to Boss Haas, so we're going to have a look at that, and I'll show you what I've done. Stick around. Alright, so here is the boss man, Boss Haas. It's funny how something so relatively simple can take so damn long. It took me the better part of yesterday to build those floorboards or footboards or whatever you want to call them. Just come around and give you a bit of a multi-angle view of them. Not bad, eh? Still got a little work to do on them. I got to finish a couple of welds, which I'm going to do after I've got, the wheels off and the frame ready to go and all that stuff. There's a couple of spots that were tough to get at. Alright, so let's take a minute to talk about the footboards and the need for the footboards or floorboards or whatever you refer to them as. Basically, the long and the short of it is these old classic, pre-1970 Wheelhorses, going back as early as 64 or maybe earlier. I can only speak to 64 because the oldest Wheelhorse I have is a 64. This one, of course, is a 67. The only thing they have are these cast iron stirrups, and these things basically mount to the post sticking out from the body that the pedal hangs off of, so really it gives you somewhere to put your heel, which is all fine and good if you're actually doing gardening or mowing grass or whatever the case may be. Problem is, this is not sufficient when you're off-roading. I think the biggest element of this is not so much when you're cruising along the trail or bombing through the mud or whatever the case may be. I think the biggest element is when you're climbing obstacles, and especially hills. It's very, very handy to stand up and lean forward, throw your weight forward to keep you from doing a backflip. And I have no desire to do a backflip. So basically, I had to build some floorboards. Even though this is not a senseless project, so to speak, I'm willing to sink some bucks into this. I have, and I will. I decided that I'd look for common materials and even stuff that I had kicking around to try and build these floorboards, and that's what I did. So the main source of the material is this 3/4 inch electrical conduit. It's galvanized steel tubing. Its nominal inside diameter is 3/4. It's a little bit greater than that, and the outer diameter is about 1 inch. Common as mud, a 10-foot stick is about $10 in Home Depot. That's here in Canada. I'm sure it's cheaper in the US, but it's very easily attainable. Everybody carries it. It's fairly easy to work with, and if you have a hand bender, and I'll show you that in a minute, you can bend this stuff without anything fancy. If you've got an electrician buddy that you can borrow a hand bender off, you can have a great deal of fun with this stuff and make some useful junk. When it came down to figuring out what I was going to put on the bottom, the actual flooring material, I was going to use expanded metal mesh, but the problem is that stuff is really flexible and I'd have to have supports all over the place, and I wanted something a little bit stronger, and I didn't want to just use sheet steel. I was going to repurpose some Craftsman floorboards, and they're slick and they're smooth, and I wanted something with some traction. When I get into the mud and stuff like that, you know what it's like. You wind up with a pile of mud and goo in your boots, your feet are slipping all over the floorboards, and that's no damn good either. So the solution came in the form of a loading ramp. This ramp was 6 feet long. It is no longer. And it's got this really great textured surface here. It's stamped out and expanded and punched and pressed. And, well, quite frankly, if you were to bump it hard enough with bare flesh, it would probably hurt like hell, but it gives you great traction. Bought a pair of those a bunch of years ago for loading tractors. Excuse me. And then one day I was going out in my, I think it was my Windstar, to pick up a tractor. Back in the days when I had that 1,000-foot long driveway, which you'll see in some of my older videos. And I actually got stuck in the driveway. It had just snowed. I didn't have time to plow it. You know, I'm just trying to get through it. Stuck, didn't happen. So I whipped those ramps out of the back of the van and I used them to free myself, kind of like sand ladders. The problem is one of them got kind of bent up and I didn't really trust them from there on in. And ultimately, I got a nice aluminum trifold ramp to replace those with. So I had one good ramp and one that was bent to rat crap, so they weren't any good as a pair. So anyways, long story short, I had that stuff kicking around and it seemed like ideal flooring material. So I did it. Basically, I spent, well, the better part of a day figuring this out and working it out, and then bending and hacking and whacking and zapping. I don't have any fancy tools. It was just cut, fit, grind, grind, fit, grind, fit, grind, fit, zap. Cut, fit, grind, over and over. So I did spend the better part of the day on this yesterday, but I'm pretty happy with the results. Alright, so I do still have to complete a few welds. I had this thing sitting on the hoist, so I couldn't get it the underside very well, and I left the wheels on and all that stuff because I wanted to get it together first. And what I've done here is I'll just bring the camera down, is I've set them at a level that they're not any lower than the frame. And what this leaves me with is a really awesome breakover angle. I haven't measured my clearance in the middle there, but it's got to be a good 14 inches. Has to be. So I've left myself with this. And basically what I did in the process of figuring things out is I bent what I considered to be a somewhat desirable angle at the front here. And I cut the tube off just a little bit longer than I wanted it to be, and then kind of worked out the back angle here. That's not exactly 90 degrees, which I did deliberately because this board flares out just a little bit. I thought that was visually pleasing. Worked out the angles, worked out the back set from the frame, and then once I had that kind of halfway tacked together, I set it in place. I decided it looked good, so I just duplicated that for the other side. So then I was left with these two wings or Nerf bars, if you want to call it that. And then once I got them zapped onto the frame, you know, obviously I'm going to need a little bit more support, so I came up with these uprights. I just bent, I think it was about an 80-degree angle on these things. Wasn't quite 90. Here's the angle here. And zapped that in place and decided that looked good. And then I kind of figured I wanted a little bit of side support, a little bit of side protection, and I just came up with these little pieces. And it was just a lot of grinding and fitting and hand fishmouthing this stuff because I don't have a jig for it. So it's just a lot of time with the angle grinder, you know, buzz it a little bit, test fit it, buzz it a little bit, test fit it, until everything kind of worked out the way I wanted it to. And I'm really happy with this stuff. It's absolutely solid as hell. It's not going anywhere. Just dynamite traction on this stuff. It is going to hurt if I slip and, you know, smack a knee off it or something like that, but it's a risk I'm willing to take. I know what it's like to be slipping around on the floorboards, and that just ain't no good for nobody. So yeah, I did these things in stages. Did the Nerf bars first, did the upright support second, both sides, and then I came back and did these things. And it's really strong and I love the look. I think it works really well with this thing. Let me just back off a bit. And it kind of ties into the front bumper and shock support loops that I built there. And I think it looks good. I'm really happy with that. Did the same for both sides. Spent some time measuring them out to make sure everything was copacetic and looking like it should be. And equal side to side. Ran into a bit of trouble on this side. I'm not even sure I'd call it trouble, but a potential issue. And this belt here is an old belt and it's too long, obviously. I've just got this kind of in place just to see what I'm dealing with here. That clutch is still kind of loose. But what we have here is the fact that the belt would naturally want to run underneath this bar and up. Obviously, if I were to do that, I'd be setting myself up for, well, basically an impossibility trying to change the belts because I've got this welded to the frame. Yes, I could have gone through the trouble and made this whole thing a bolt-on affair, but I just didn't want to go to that much trouble. So, what I'm thinking of doing here, ideas are welcome, I do read the comments, even though I don't always respond, is putting an idler wheel right about here just to bring the belt up and over and give me some clearance. I'll have to see what the clutch throw looks like. yada yada yada. I kind of want to do that because I want to bring the belt up, because in its original incarnation the belt rode, you know, way low below the frame, and I kind of want to get it up and out of harm's way. So we'll see how that goes. If I still can't quite make it happen the way I want it to, I can always cut this little section of tube out, you know, rework the support forward or something like that, clear the belt, whatever. I'll come up with something, it's okay, no problem. And then what I've done here is I nabbed a pedal off one of the other old Wheelhorses and stuck it on the peg, and this is actually going to be my throttle pedal. I figured I'd use another old Wheelhorse pedal, and that would be kind of cool. And so I still got to rig that, but it's in place, gives me an idea. As you can see, I cut the original posts down short. They were a couple inches longer, quite a lot of inches longer as a matter of fact, and used some 3/4 inch shaft collars to just retain the pedals. I did that on both sides. It's nice and strong, it'll put up with the abuse. Not that a stock look matters at this point, but yeah, I thought the pedals were cool, I'd keep them. Right, so there we have it. Nice comfortable height. My feet are good for the pedals. I know this one's kind of drooping right now, but it's in a good place. And they're solid. And the nice thing is I've actually got a little extra ankle support here. I tried not to make them so big that if I'm going to roll or fall or anything like that, it's going to trap me, because I don't want that. But I do want to be able to stand up and lean over going up a steep hill without doing a backflip, and I think I've managed to accomplish that here. So, strong, sturdy, looks good, plenty of traction. I can't slide my feet on it. Perfect. I'm pretty happy with this. What do you think about it? And I'm asking, put your comment below. One of the things that I've really enjoyed about this build so far, even though I'm not getting things done as quickly as I would like, but then again, that's life, is the interaction with you, the viewer. I know that a lot of YouTubers do this, and this is kind of a new concept for me. I talk to the camera, you view it, life's good. With that being said, it's kind of adding a new dimension. You know, when I ask you for an opinion or a question or your thoughts on a matter, and ask you to comment, and you do comment, and I do read them. I read all of them. I don't necessarily get a chance to answer all of them because it can be kind of time consuming, and I'm usually multitasking. I try to at least thumbs up it or like it or something just to let you know that, okay, it's been seen. But I'm really enjoying the interaction. I like the fact that I can throw questions out to you guys or ask you for your opinion, and you're there to give me your opinion. I'm still in the process of training myself that people are actually paying attention. This kind of harkens back to when we were talking about I'll get rid of a project or something like that, and then somebody will ask about it 6 months or a year later or 2 years later. I'll go, oh shoot, I guess I didn't tell you I got rid of that. So I'm still getting used to the concept. I know I've had this channel going for a couple of good years now, but it's still a little bit new, a couple of these things. But I'm going to try and keep you apprised on this stuff. So yes, I did sell Senseless. It's out the door. And I'm going to be unloading some other stuff that I'm not using. I'm going to prioritize some projects. It's a hard decision to make, because you look at something you've got kicking around and you go, hey man, I could use that. I could build something really cool. Well, are you going to build it anytime soon? Probably not. Life keeps you busy. As a matter of fact, I'm putting so much stock in the Boss Haas project that I'm thinking about unloading Suburban Commando. Yeah, you heard it here first. Commando might be going out the door. I only need so many tractors, and Boss Haas is going to be what I need and more. So this beastie is either going to get parted out or sold as is. I haven't decided. Stay tuned. Anyways, thanks for tuning in on this here Boss Haas project update. I hope you dig the floorboards. Let me know, like I said, in the comments. Give me any other thoughts or opinions or ideas you have. Thanks for tuning in to Sprocket's Garage on YouTube and sharing and subscribing. Until next time, take care of yourself. I'm absolutely not kidding when I say the grass is scorched. Look at this. It's like a hayfield. Bad, bad news.